It starts with a jolt of ice in your veins. You're telling a story, a favorite one you've told a dozen times, and suddenly, the name is gone, the complete blank, or you walk into the kitchen with purpose, only to stand there under the fluorescent lights, utterly clueless as to what you came for. You pat your pockets for the third time, searching for keys that are right there on the counter. And in that quiet, frustrating moment, a terrifying question whispers in the back of your mind. Is this it? Is this the beginning of the end? Is my memory failing? If you have ever felt that specific, chilling fear, I want you to know you are not alone. That fear is real, it's valid, and for millions of us, it's a shadow that follows us as we get older. We saw it in our parents or our grandparents, and we dread the thought of losing our independence, our stories, our very sense of self. But what if I told you that for a significant number of people, that fear is based on a misunderstanding? What if the real reason for that brain fog, that forgetfulness, wasn't the irreversible decline we all dread, but something else entirely? Something shockingly simple, and in many cases, treatable? Today, we are going on a deep dive into the very real, often overlooked reasons for memory loss that have nothing to do with incurable diseases. This video is not about a magical cure, but about shedding light on often overlooked and treatable conditions that can mimic serious memory loss. And to make sure we're grounded in solid facts, we'll be referencing information from leading medical institutions like the Mayo Clinic, Johns Hopkins Medicine, and the National Institute on Aging to guide this important conversation. We are going to explore the surprising connections between your body and your brain, uncovering the hidden culprits that could be impacting your memory right now. We'll talk about how things like your hormones, your sleep, and even your gut health can create a perfect storm of cognitive chaos. And most importantly, we're going to outline clear, actionable steps you can take to get answers, to advocate for yourself, and to take back control of your health narrative. So please, stay with me. The information we're about to cover could be life-changing, not just for you, but for someone you love. And a quick but important reminder, I am not a doctor, and this video is not a substitute for professional medical advice. The goal here is to provide you with information and empower you to have more effective conversations with your own healthcare provider. Please, always consult with a qualified medical professional for any diagnosis or before making any changes to your health regimen. Your doctor is your most important partner on this journey. All right, let's begin by peeling back the layers on these surprisingly common, yet frequently missed, causes of memory trouble. We'll start with something many of us have in our medicine cabinets right now. Let's call it the medication mix-up. Think about your daily routine. Maybe you take a pill for blood pressure, another for cholesterol. Perhaps you take an over-the-counter antihistamine for allergies, or a little something to help you sleep at night. It all seems harmless enough, and it's prescribed by doctors. But here's the issue. As we age, our bodies metabolize drugs differently. The combination of multiple medications, a condition known as polypharmacy, can have unintended consequences, and the brain is often the first to feel it. Certain classes of drugs, particularly those with what are called anticholinergic properties, found in everything from allergy pills like Benadryl to certain antidepressants, to medications for an overactive bladder, can directly interfere with a key neurotransmitter in the brain called acetylcholine, which is crucial for learning and memory. I remember a dear friend telling me about her father. He was in his late 70s, a sharp, witty man who over about 6 months seemed to be fading before their eyes. He was confused, his short-term memory was shot, and the family was beginning to have those hushed, painful conversations about long-term care. They were convinced it was a rapid-onset dementia. It was only during a visit with a new geriatrician who did a brown bag review, asking them to bring in every single pill he was taking, that the problem was found. An overactive bladder medication he'd been prescribed a few months earlier was the culprit. Within a month of stopping it, the witty, sharp man they knew started to come back. The fog lifted. It wasn't dementia. It was a side effect. So here is your first action step: the brown bag review. Gather every single thing you take: prescriptions, over-the-counter pills, vitamins, herbal supplements, everything, and take it to your doctor or pharmacist. Ask them to review it specifically for cognitive side effects and potential interactions. Don't ever stop or change a prescribed medication on your own, but open the conversation. The red flag to watch for is any noticeable cognitive decline that seems to start within a few weeks or months of beginning a new medication. It's a simple check that could reveal a very simple answer. Now, just as what we put into our bodies in the form of pills can have a profound effect, what we don't get enough of can be just as damaging. This brings us to our next point: the critical nutrient gap. Specifically, I'm talking about vitamin B12. Many people experiencing brain fog, fatigue, and memory lapses immediately jump to the worst conclusion, when the real issue could be a simple vitamin deficiency. Vitamin B12 is an absolute powerhouse for our nervous system. It's essential for maintaining the health of our nerve cells and for producing myelin, the protective sheath that covers our nerves, kind of like the plastic coating on an electrical wire. When we're low on B12, those signals in our brain can misfire, leading to a whole host of neurological problems, with memory loss being one of the most prominent. The tricky part is that as we age, our ability to absorb B12 from our food naturally decreases. Furthermore, some of the most common medications people over 50 take, such as metformin for diabetes and acid-reducing drugs for heartburn, can significantly interfere with B12 absorption. So you could be eating a perfectly healthy diet but still become deficient. I think of my own aunt, who for years complained of being tired and fuzzy. She chalked it up to just getting older. She was an avid walker but started having trouble with her balance. Her doctor, thankfully, was thorough and ran a full blood panel. Her B12 levels were critically low. After a course of B12 injections, she said it was like the lights in her brain had been turned back on. Her energy returned, the fog cleared, and even her balance improved. Your action step here is wonderfully straightforward. The next time you see your doctor for a checkup, ask for a blood test to check your vitamin B12 levels. It's a simple, inexpensive test that could provide an invaluable piece of the puzzle. The red flags that might point specifically to a B12 issue beyond just memory fog include a feeling of numbness or tingling in your hands or feet, difficulty with balance, and unusual fatigue. So we've seen how a lack of a single vitamin can disrupt our brain's delicate wiring. But what about a disruption that happens every single night, for hours on end, often without us even knowing it's occurring? Let's talk about the silent thief of sleep: undiagnosed sleep apnea. So many of us, or our partners, accept loud snoring as just a normal, if annoying, part of life. We wake up feeling like we haven't slept a wink, chug coffee to get through the day, and blame it on stress or age. But for an estimated 22 million Americans, the real problem is sleep apnea. This is a condition where your breathing repeatedly stops and starts throughout the night. Each time you stop breathing, the oxygen level in your blood plummets. Your brain, sensing the emergency, briefly jolts you awake to restart your breathing. You may not even remember these awakenings, but they can happen hundreds of times a night. Think about what this does to your brain. Night after night, it's being starved of the oxygen it needs to repair itself and consolidate memories, a key function of deep sleep. Over time, this chronic oxygen deprivation can actually damage brain cells, particularly in the hippocampus, the brain's memory center. A study published in the journal Neurology found that people with sleep-disordered breathing developed memory problems about 10 years earlier than those without the condition. I once read the story of a 55-year-old executive who was on the verge of taking early retirement because he couldn't focus or remember key details in meetings. His wife finally convinced him to do a sleep study because his snoring was shaking the walls. It turned out he had severe obstructive sleep apnea. 6 months after starting treatment with a CPAP machine, he was a new man. His memory was sharp, his focus was back, and he felt decades younger. His dementia was, in fact, severe sleep deprivation. The action step is clear. If you snore loudly, if your partner has noticed you gasp or choke in your sleep, or if you consistently wake up with a headache and feel exhausted during the day despite a full night in bed, you need to talk to your doctor about a sleep study. It's not just about getting a good night's rest, it's about protecting your brain. The red flags are unmistakable: loud, chronic snoring, observed pauses in breathing, and excessive daytime sleepiness. Don't ignore them. Oxygen is absolutely vital, of course, but so are the powerful chemical messengers that run virtually every system in our body. I'm talking about our hormones. When these messengers go haywire, it can create a perfect storm for brain fog. And this hormonal havoc is one of the most underappreciated causes of cognitive change. Let's start with the master regulator, your thyroid. This little butterfly-shaped gland in your neck controls your body's metabolism. If it becomes underactive, a condition called hypothyroidism, everything slows down. Your metabolism, your heart rate, and yes, your brain processing speed. Hypothyroidism is incredibly common, especially in women over 60, and its symptoms, fatigue, weight gain, feeling cold, and significant brain fog are so easily mistaken for normal aging or depression. Conversely, an overactive thyroid or hyperthyroidism can make you feel agitated, anxious, and unable to focus, also impacting memory. Then there are the sex hormones. For women, the menopausal transition brings a steep drop in estrogen. We often talk about hot flashes and night sweats, but we don't talk enough about the neurological impact. Estrogen plays a huge role in brain function, supporting neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which affect mood and focus. According to the team at BodyLogic MD, this decline can affect cortisol regulation, leading to those frustrating memory lapses and difficulty with word retrieval. For men, a gradual decline in testosterone, or andropause, can lead to similar symptoms: a lack of mental sharpness, low motivation, and memory problems. Think of our audience persona, Carol. She's 62, going through these changes, and every time she forgets a name, she fears the worst because of her family history. But for so many women like her, these senior moments aren't a sign of dementia, but a sign of hormonal imbalance. It's a physiological response, not a permanent cognitive decline. A simple blood test could reveal that her thyroid is sluggish or her hormones are out of balance, providing a clear, treatable path forward that shifts the narrative from fear to empowerment. So, the action step is to advocate for a comprehensive checkup. Don't just let your doctor run a basic TSH for your thyroid. Ask for a full thyroid panel, including free T3, free T4, and thyroid antibodies. Ask to have your sex hormone levels checked as well. The red flags for hormonal issues are broad, but often include unexplained changes in weight, energy levels, mood, body temperature, or hair and skin, in addition to the cognitive symptoms. A full picture is needed to get the right answer. Okay, let's just take a quick pause here. We're more than halfway through, and we have already covered 4 massive areas that can profoundly impact your memory, but have absolutely nothing to do with an irreversible disease. We've talked about the side effects of common medications, the importance of a single vitamin like B12, the brain-damaging effects of untreated sleep apnea, and the system-wide chaos of hormonal imbalances. If any of this information has been an aha moment for you or has given you a sense of hope, I would be so grateful if you took just a second to tap that like button below. It really helps our channel reach more people like you who are looking for these answers. Thank you so much for that. Now let's dive back in. For our next point, we have to talk about something that scientists are only just beginning to fully understand. A connection so powerful, it's been nicknamed our second brain. I'm talking about your gut. Imagine this. Your gut is home to trillions of bacteria, a complex ecosystem called the microbiome. In a healthy gut, there's a good balance of beneficial bacteria. But when that balance is thrown off by things like a poor diet high in sugar and processed foods, chronic stress, or antibiotic use, harmful bacteria can take over. This imbalance leads to inflammation in the gut lining. Now, here's the critical link, that inflammation doesn't just stay in your gut. It can trigger a low-grade, chronic inflammatory response throughout your entire body. This systemic inflammation can weaken the blood-brain barrier, the protective shield that keeps harmful substances out of your brain. Once that barrier is compromised, inflammatory molecules can get in, causing neuroinflammation, which is a key driver of cognitive decline and brain fog. Let's use an analogy. Think of your gut lining as a very tight cheesecloth, only allowing tiny digested nutrients to pass through. An unhealthy lifestyle can poke holes in that cheesecloth, a condition often called leaky gut. Now, larger, undigested food particles and toxins can leak into your bloodstream, which your immune system sees as foreign invaders, sounding the alarm bells and creating inflammation everywhere, including your brain. For someone who has dealt with lifelong digestive issues, bloating, gas, constipation, what we often call a sensitive stomach, and has just learned to live with it, this might be the missing piece of the puzzle. Their memory issues might not be starting in their head, but in their digestive tract. The action step here is to start thinking of food as medicine for your brain. Focus on healing your gut by incorporating more fiber-rich vegetables, which feed good bacteria. Add fermented foods like plain yogurt, kefir, or sauerkraut in moderation to introduce beneficial probiotics, and critically, work on reducing the foods that fuel inflammation, especially processed sugar, refined grains, and unhealthy industrial seed oils. While inflammation from our gut can be a slow, simmering fire, sometimes the issue is much more sudden and dramatic, even if its initial symptoms are deceptively subtle. This brings us to a cause that requires urgent attention: the silent stroke and other vascular issues. We typically think of a stroke as a catastrophic event: sudden numbness on one side of the body, slurred speech, a drooping face, and those are absolutely medical emergencies. But there's another, more insidious type of cerebrovascular event called a silent stroke. These are small strokes that occur in parts of the brain that don't control major functions like speech or motor skills, so they don't produce those classic obvious symptoms. However, they still destroy brain tissue. When these silent strokes accumulate over time, they can lead to a condition called vascular dementia. The memory loss here can look different from the slow, steady decline often associated with Alzheimer's. It might appear more stepwise. A person might seem fine 1 month, and then after a small, unnoticed event, there's a sudden, noticeable dip in their cognitive ability. They might suddenly struggle with tasks that require planning and judgment, like managing their finances or following a recipe. I think of a story my own doctor told me about a patient, a retired accountant who was always meticulous with his records. His family brought him in because he had suddenly started making major errors in his checkbook and seemed confused by simple financial documents. They were terrified it was Alzheimer's, but an MRI of his brain revealed a different story. It showed evidence of multiple small strokes in areas of the brain responsible for executive function. His high blood pressure, which he had often neglected to manage properly, was the underlying cause. The most crucial action step here is prevention and management of cardiovascular risk factors. This is non-negotiable for brain health. You must diligently manage your blood pressure, keep your cholesterol in check, and control your blood sugar if you have diabetes. If you or a loved one experience a sudden change in memory or thinking ability, especially if it's accompanied by new difficulties with walking, balance, or a sense of confusion, this is not something to watch and wait on. It requires immediate medical evaluation to rule out a stroke or other acute vascular event. We've covered some incredibly important and often missed physical causes of memory loss. But the number one reason I wanted to make this video, the most critical point I want to leave you with, isn't a physical condition at all. It's a concept. It's an idea that is so deeply ingrained in our culture that it might be the single most dangerous factor of all, because it stops us from looking for any of these other answers. I'm talking about the myth of normal aging. How many times have you heard it? Or even said it yourself? Oh, don't worry about me. I'm just having a senior moment. Or maybe you've expressed concern to a well-meaning friend, or even a doctor, only to be told, well, what do you expect at your age? This single idea that significant memory loss is just an inevitable part of getting older is a trap. It fosters a sense of helplessness and resignation, and it prevents us from seeking the very diagnoses that could lead to treatment and recovery. Let me be absolutely clear. Drawing from the guidance of the National Institute on Aging, dementia is not a normal part of aging. It is a disease. Yes, it is normal to experience some mild changes as we get older. It might take you longer to learn a new skill, or you might occasionally misplace your glasses. That's normal. What is not normal is memory loss that disrupts your daily life. Forgetting where you parked your car is one thing. Forgetting how to operate your car is another. Misplacing your keys is normal. Finding them in the refrigerator and having no idea how they got there is not. Getting lost in an unfamiliar city is understandable. Getting lost on your own street, a route you've driven for 20 years, is a major red flag. By accepting the senior moment narrative, we close the door on investigation. We don't ask the doctor to check our B12 levels. We don't push for a sleep study. We don't ask for a full hormone panel. We simply assume the worst and stop searching for a better answer. Remember the statistics we talked about? One review showed that up to 1 in 4 Alzheimer's diagnoses could be a misdiagnosis. Another study found that potentially reversible causes could account for as many as 1 in 5 cases of cognitive decline. You owe it to yourself and to your family to find out if you are in that 1 in 5. So the final and perhaps most powerful action step is this: become your own best advocate. Start a simple memory journal. When you have an incident that worries you, write it down. What happened? What was the context? What time of day was it? This gives you concrete data to take to your doctor, not just a vague sense of anxiety. And when you talk to your doctor, use this phrase: I understand some forgetfulness can be normal with age, but this feels different to me, and I want to be proactive. I would like to rule out any treatable causes. You are the expert on your own body. Trust your instincts. Now, I know that for many of us, the next hurdle is talking about these concerns, not just with a doctor, but with a spouse, a parent, or a sibling we're worried about. It can feel like a deeply uncomfortable, even accusatory conversation. But it doesn't have to be. The key is to approach it from a place of love and teamwork, not judgment. Instead of saying, "You've been so forgetful lately," try using I statements. I'm worried because I care about you, and I've noticed you seem to be struggling to find words sometimes. It makes me want to make sure we're both as healthy as we can be. One of the most effective strategies is to make it a team effort. You could say to your spouse or your parent, we're both not getting any younger. I'm going to schedule a full, top-to-bottom physical for myself, and I'd love it if we could go get ours done around the same time. Let's make it our project to get a clean bill of health this year. This frames it as a shared goal of wellness, rather than singling someone out for a perceived deficit. The goal is to open a door to a doctor's office, where these treatable causes can be explored with compassion and medical expertise. So let's just take a moment and look at the ground we've covered today. We started with that familiar cold feeling of fear that comes with a memory lapse. But now, you are armed with knowledge. You know that brain fog isn't always what it seems. You have a checklist of potential culprits to consider, from your medicine cabinet to your sleep patterns, from your hormone levels to the health of your gut. You've won a major victory today because you have shifted your perspective from one of passive fear to one of proactive empowerment. You now know that it's just old age is not an acceptable answer, and you have the language to challenge that myth respectfully but firmly. You are now the CEO of your own health journey. This is the core message of hope I want you to take away. While the fear of memory loss is real, your agency over your own health is even realer. There are so many avenues to explore, so many questions to ask, and so many potential solutions that have nothing to do with the diagnosis we all fear most. You have the power to start that investigation. Now, I would love to hear from you. In all that we've discussed today, which of these points was the biggest aha moment for you? Was it the link between sleep and memory, the impact of hormones, or the powerful connection to our gut health? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Reading your experiences helps everyone in this community feel less alone. And finally, if you found this deep dive helpful and empowering, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the little notification bell. We create content like this every week, designed to give you credible, in-depth information to help you live your healthiest, most vibrant life. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Be well, stay empowered, and I'll see you in the next video.